Good evening, Frank Currier on First Saturday. Tonight, the July edition takes a second look at the sale of barren desert land in southern Colorado through the mail. Then we'll examine the emotional burdens faced by controllers in the Stapleton Tower. Finally, we'll travel on foot over 12,000-foot Engineer Pass and backtrack east to the all-but-forgotten railroad town of Pagosa Junction. It's no crime in Colorado to sell and promote land through the mail, and the state has little to say about the methods used. But when that land is little more than sagebrush and is represented as mountain home sites, the Federal Trade Commission gets involved. Last winter, the FTC began prosecuting land swindlers in the San Luis Valley of southern Colorado. About the same time, we ran a story on First Saturday about a company that's under investigation for its sales methods. That company is still under investigation. Tonight, we'll take a second look at what's going on and update that report.
The San Luis Valley, a desert landscape 3 times the size of Delaware. It sprawls across south-central Colorado for as far as the eye can see. Barren, flat, dry scrubland, hundreds of square miles baking in the sun. Without irrigation, cattle have a tough time finding enough grass to eat here. And because the price is right, it's attractive to out-of-state land promoters who have bought up hundreds of thousands of acres and subdivided it into vaguely defined ranch lots. Road graders have crisscrossed the valley floor, their giant blades slicing hundreds of miles of dirt roads that lead nowhere. Developers have erected street signs at these tumbleweed junctions, adding a bizarre touch of suburbia to the plateaus of sagebrush and chico weed. Much of this raw land was bought for practically nothing, maybe $50 an acre. And with no improvements, it's now selling for 12 times that amount, and people are buying it. This Los Angeles-based company, San Luis Valley Ranches, attracted our attention because of a Federal Trade Commission complaint that's been filed against the owners. We examined hundreds of consumer inquiries to the Alamosa Chamber of Commerce, letters questioning the promotional methods used by San Luis Valley Ranches. And we decided to learn firsthand how easy it is to buy this property through the mail. The statements and the promises made in the company's advertising were making skeptics out of people who answered these ads through magazines and newspapers worldwide. For those who'd never seen the San Luis Valley, it seemed too good to be true. A piece of Colorado, prosperity for just $1 a day, for the man who always wanted his own spread. The pictures show everything except the property being offered. This is what they show you in the brochure, majestic Mount Blanca behind Smith Reservoir. And here's what they don't show you. As the camera zooms out and pans right, you get the whole picture. The curiosity was too much. We sent off for some brochures, and 3 days later, this arrives in the mail. A legal purchase agreement for a chunk of land equal in size to 4 football fields. The terms are tempting, $20 a month for 12 years. The deed comes after the final payment. We mailed back the agreement with the first payment to a post office box in Alamosa and set out to find Lot 4, Block 40. The San Luis Valley Ranch's brochure calls this a recreational development. But instead of homes, trees, and recreation, we saw little more than dust and cactus and an abandoned junkyard. Time to double-check the land map. It's a detailed little map. A maze of intersecting lines transforms the sage flats into avenues and lots, many of which have frontage on the railroad tracks. It's all part of the development. A spinach farmer told us, you get used to it. We learned it's absolutely essential to visit property before you buy and not after. San Luis Valley Ranches sells most of this land by mail and prefers that customers sign all the paperwork and start paying before coming out for a look. A loophole in the law exempts companies like this, which sell parcels 5 acres or larger, from disclosing pertinent information to buyers. Finally, we located our tract. It's described in the brochure as Western leisure with city luxury. Deer and antelope are mentioned in the booklet, but local ranchers had to warn us about the rattlesnakes. Later, the company's only sales agent showed us the land. He refused to answer most of our questions, referring us to the owner in Los Angeles.
I came out and I wasn't sure what the property was, but it looks like, basically sagebrush and nothing more.
And basically that's what we sold.
Promotional brochures like this one are allowed to exist in Colorado because the state has no authority over subdivision advertising methods.
Now, the first couple of pages of this booklet, as you thumb through, does any of that appear to you to look like the San Luis Valley?
Most of these pictures are from areas in Colorado. They are clearly Colorado. They are Denver, they're Mesa Verde, they're the Air Force Academy. They're areas that are in Colorado but not in the San Luis Valley itself. But from this brochure, they're advertising all of Colorado instead of the particular area that they're selling.
The federal government estimates 1 in 5 developers is handing out inaccurate or misleading information to the public. Ken Hollis agrees. He worked several years ago in San Luis Valley real estate with land promoters, but was fired, he said, for telling the truth.
They were doing the county more harm than they were good in the way they were selling land to people all over the country who had no idea what they were buying out here.
And you'd tell potential buyers the truth.
Well, my personal policy was sell nothing until the buyer had seen it. Just refused to sell it until he had seen it. Needless to say, I didn't sell much.
Jim Wilkinson is a pipe fitter from Port Arthur, Texas. He bought a 5-acre tract of property here through an ad appearing in the Reader's Digest. While vacationing here in Colorado, he decided to come out and see his land for the first time.
How did you envision this property when you read about it in the magazine?
Well, I envisioned the mountains being closer by and trees around it, you know. That's what
Bubbling brooks and...
Yeah, sure did.
And what is there out there right now?
There's not anything. Most of the rangeland looked to me like it's all it's really good for.
Not exactly a vacation paradise.
I wouldn't think so.
What do you intend to do with the land?
I was really going to move on it because I'm retiring, you see, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to move on it.
Did they tell you how much it would cost to string an electric line and a telephone line?
No, they didn't give me no price on that, and I didn't know nothing about that till just I come up here, you know.
Do you know how much it costs?
No, I don't have no idea.
What they didn't tell Jim was public service charges about $6,000 a mile to string a power line here. On our property, that would cost around $12,000. We learned a water well must be drilled 150 feet down at a cost approaching $5,000, and no outside watering is allowed. The tiny blanket telephone system estimated initial phone installation to our property would run in excess of $1,000. And an aerated septic tank would cost about $2,000. And here's the total, what they don't tell you. Up to $20,000 over and above the price of the land and the new home. But let's say you don't want to build. You bought the land as an investment. A local savings and loan appraiser says, don't count on it.
The terms are right, but if he comes down, he checks and looks around, he's going to realize that there's more to the San Luis Valley than a little 5-acre sagebrush tract.
Okay, I'm paying roughly $600 an acre for that tract. What's it worth? 300, 200?
In my opinion, with the terms that you're receiving, I think it jacks the price up by probably 75%. I think what's more realistic price is 25 cents on the dollar.
Today, thousands of people are still paying for this property. But unlike most recreational developments, there is practically nobody living here. In 10 years' time, there are only a half-dozen trailers and a few little A-frames scattered about the property. The concept is not a whole lot different from what happened in the nearby town of Blanca, which was peddled as a recreational hamlet 10 years ago under the name Mountain View Village. San Luis Valley Ranches bought most of the town in a tax sale, paying slightly more than $3 for each city lot. It then turned around and sold double lots at more than $900 each. Today, Blanca is just barely hanging on, and nobody calls it Mountain View Village. The Federal Trade Commission alleges that San Luis Valley Ranches has misrepresented property by omitting facts and handing out misleading information. And the FTC has ordered the company to stop selling the land as a home site, to stop saying it's a good investment. The Trade Commission also has ordered the company to print this statement in all future fact sheets. Clearly, the language leaves little doubt about future use of this property. The company denies the allegations, and recent efforts at a consent agreement have failed.
The case goes to a federal court trial later this summer. San Luis Valley Ranches guarantees a full refund of all money if you inspect your land within a year of purchase and don't want it. We requested our refund last December, and in early February, this $20 check arrived from the United California Bank in Hollywood. And we do plan to cash it.